The contents of this broadcast should be considered personal opinion of a non-professional. Seek advice from multiple qualified sources prior to making any retirement or financial decisions. All right, welcome to the third firefighterretire.com video in our retirement equation series. Today we're going to be talking about the fascinating subject of survivor options. I think this topic is super interesting because it involves a lot of money and isn't always given the consideration it deserves. It's a fact, many of us don't visit the DRS website until a few years before we retire. So even if we know what a survivor option is, we probably haven't calculated the effect it will have on our retirement benefit. Along this line, a firefighter friend of mine recently said to me, when I turn 54, I'll have 25 years in. Why would I go to work for 50% of what I'm making now? This is a great point, and probably what most of us think when we still have several years before we retire. The problem is, his 50% number might be reduced by more than 20% after taking into account his survivor option choice and health insurance costs. 50% moving to less than 30% is obviously a game changer. Now, for my friend, who has over a decade left of his fire service career, there are several relatively painless things he can do to improve his scenario if he wants to. But for the guy or gal that's checking out their options 3 months before they intend to retire, it's very hard to move the needle, and they might end up working longer than they plan. The earlier we understand the impact of survivor options on our retirement benefit, the better we can plan for it. Okay, first things first. What exactly is a survivor option? A survivor option is just that, an option that will provide a continued retirement benefit for a designated survivor if the retiree dies. Usually the survivor is a spouse, but it doesn't have to be. If you're married, you probably want to include your spouse in your survivor option decision-making process because, one, it will greatly affect their future, and two, because they'll have to sign documents agreeing to your selection anyway. If you don't make a selection, you're automatically given option 3. One question that always comes up is, what happens if the survivor dies before the retiree? If this happens, the benefit is bumped back up to the full benefit option 1. The Left 2 handbook also addresses questions regarding divorce, new marriages after retirement, and the few other instances you can change your survivor option after you start collecting a benefit. There are 4 different options to choose from. I'm going to call them by their proper name so they become familiar. Option 1, single life. No survivor option. You die, you're done. Unless you die before the benefit you've received equals your contributions plus interest. In this case, a lump sum will go to your beneficiary. Option 2, joint and 100% survivor. Your monthly benefit is significantly reduced, but if you die, your survivor continues to get the same benefit for their lifetime. Option 3, joint and 50% survivor. Your benefit is reduced not nearly as much as option 2, but if you die, your survivor only gets 50% of your benefit. And option 4, joint and 66.67 survivor. Obviously, this is the in-betweener. The cost of a survivor option is determined by your benefit and the age difference between you and your survivor. You can go to the DRS website and find out exactly how much your benefit will be affected by the different survivor option choices. But to give you some idea how much money we're talking about, I'll go through a sample. These numbers are for a 53-year-old firefighter with a survivor that is the same age. This firefighter worked 30 years with a FAS of $7,800 and a retirement benefit of $4,680. So as you can see, the benefit reduction is $604 for option 2, $323 for option 3, and $422 for option 4. That's a 12.9, 6.9, and 9.0 reduction to the benefit respectively. Choosing a survivor option is an emotional issue as well as a financial one that's going to have an element of calculated risk no matter what. You either risk not providing for the needs of your loved one or risk wasting your retirement dollars on a benefit that might never get used. To further illustrate the risk issue, I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was still working at CK Fire, I developed a presentation called Retirement Benefit Maximization. I was talking to my dad one day about doing this training, and he told me of a friend of his that died shortly after he retired. He was a high-ranking officer in the Navy that passed away unexpectedly. Apparently, this guy was really healthy and didn't think he needed to take a survivor option. Dad didn't know all the details of his friend's finances, but by all appearances, his wife went from doing financially very well to having very little, with no pension and probably no Social Security. It's a bad situation. The same week my dad shared this story with me, a retired friend of mine stopped by the station and told me about his survivor option problem. He said that he and his wife picked option 2, joint and 100% survivor, and that the reduction in his benefit was having a significant impact on their standard of living. His wife would be eligible for Social Security in the future, and they also had some significant assets and investments they planned on turning into cash flow. The survivor option they chose reduced their monthly benefit by several $100s, and he felt that he made their choice in haste and would make a different one if they could go back and do it again. The point of these two stories is that choosing a retirement option is significant to your retirement benefit and needs to be considered carefully. Taking too much risk might leave a loved one out in the cold, but being too conservative will leave money on the table, unless in Hawaii or wherever else you want to spend your discretionary income. In my opinion, survivor options should be treated like insurance in that you don't want to skimp, but having more than you need is not a good use of funds. To make a good survivor option choice, one has to consider a complexity of factors, including finances, risk tolerance, and even health. To illustrate, let's consider 2 scenarios. Firefighter A is a healthy non-smoker whose parents lived well into their 90s. His spouse has a high-paying job and her own retirement. They have no debt and a net worth of $2 million. This couple might choose single life option 1, no survivor, to maximize their potential benefit, knowing the likelihood of firefighter A dying early is low, but if he does, his wife will be financially secure. Firefighter B smokes 3 packs a day, weighs 500 pounds, and his parents both died in their 50s. His spouse doesn't work outside the home, has no pension, and won't receive Social Security. They have significant debt and a negative net worth. This couple might consider 100% survivor option because the likelihood of firefighter B dying early is high, and without his retirement benefit, she's hosed. Most of us fit in the middle somewhere, and the decision isn't as clear. One consideration that may be overlooked when contemplating a survivor option is the reduction in a couple's expenses when one of them passes away. Using myself as an example, if I kick the bucket first, my wife Jude's expenses will dramatically decrease. For example, health insurance will be pretty much cut in half, and she won't need 2 cars, so auto expenses should also be significantly lower. I eat a lot, and she eats like a bird, so the food bill will go down. The entertainment and travel bill will also be cut in half. As a part of my retirement strategy, we purchased a significant life insurance policy on me, so not only will she receive a large check, she'll no longer have to pay the hefty premiums. I have a fishing boat. She won't need that, so I'm guessing it will be sold and the insurance bill will go away on that too. My sons are out of the house, and we currently pay taxes and utilities on much more of a home than we need. So if we haven't already downsized, that will also be an option for her to reduce her living expenses, turn some equity into cash flow, and probably live a less stressful and simpler life with less to clean and maintain. The list goes on. Now, if you think I was just looking for an excuse to keep more of my retirement check for myself, you're wrong. We were looking to keep more of our retirement check for both of us. When Jude and I discussed survivor options, we agreed that our plan should be to have as much money as possible to enjoy our retirement together. And we have a solid plan that will take care of her comfortably if I die first, which is statistically probable. But considering our risk factors, we both have a reasonable chance of living into our 80s. We considered the reduction of our retirement benefit by a survivor option a direct assault on our discretionary income, so we made our choice carefully. So, which one do you pick? Let's run through some survivor option factors that will weigh in on your decision. Does your spouse work? How much? How long are they going to work? Do they have a pension, retirement savings? Are they eligible for Social Security? Do you have another source of income like a business or rental income? How much savings do you have in a deferred compensation program, IRAs, 401ks, etc.? Do you have assets you can liquidate in the future like stocks, bonds, or real estate? Do you have a mortgage? How long until it's paid off? Do you have other significant debt And if so, do you have a plan to pay it off? Do you plan on downsizing? And will that provide additional savings or a reduction in monthly expenses? Do you plan on working in retirement? And do you intend to save any of those funds? Do you have any major expenses that are still on the horizon? What is the life expectancy of you and your spouse? You're not going to know the answer to all of these questions, but the more information you have, the better decision you can make. Your survivor will need an income that will meet their expenses after you're gone. How much of your retirement benefit is required to meet those expenses should theoretically dictate your survivor option choice. Easier said than done because your income and expense estimates are for unknown future dates, but at least you only have to get close enough to choose one of the 4 survivor options. Personally, I spent more time on this issue than any other retirement factor. It's something to consider carefully, but it's a calculated risk, and sooner or later, you just have to make the best choice you can with the information you have. One alternative strategy sometimes used in the survivor option planning is purchasing life insurance in lieu of or in combination of a survivor option. This strategy can work very well in some scenarios, but there are serious risks and questions to be answered that may not always be stressed by the person selling the policy. Like, how do you know how much insurance is needed to generate the income required? How's the survivor going to turn insurance proceeds into an income stream? And how will the insurance policy adjust for inflation? There's a COLA on a survivor option, so it's really comparing apples to oranges. Another risk factor is the increase in the cost of life insurance as you get older. A large insurance policy for a healthy person in their 50s can seem very reasonable when compared to the reduction in benefit of a survivor option. The problem is, the cost of insurance can go up exponentially as you get older until it's essentially unaffordable. You don't want to be in a situation where the only way your loved one is assured financial security is if you hurry up and die before an insurance policy runs out. Life insurance is packaged in many ways. There are whole life policies, term policies, and some that are a combination of both. If you do decide to explore the option of using life insurance as a strategy, you should probably consult a professional and ask a lot of questions to make sure it will accomplish your goals. Full disclosure, we use life insurance as a part of our retirement plan, but it won't be in the plan when we reach our 70s. Okay, that'll wrap it up for survivor options. If you're near retirement, I hope this gave you a few things to think about. And if you're a ways out from retirement, at least you know it's coming and now you can plan for it. Once you know which survivor option you're going to take and how much it will reduce your benefit, you can recalculate your retirement equation and figure out your new gap figure. Our last video on the retirement equation series is video 4, health insurance. And as much as I despise health insurance, I still hope you check it out. This is Steve at firefighterretire.com. Take care and retire well. Bye.